Kia ora. September 1st came by pretty quick and my local retailer decided to celebrate Father's Day by having a sale. 20% off all LEGO Star Wars sets. That's pretty cool. What's more important to note about this retailer is that they already sell LEGO sets at close to 10% off. So everything here now is 30% off. And yes, that includes all of the September 1st sets. Just 2 days after release, suddenly the Coruscant Gunship is down almost $100. Here's me and my partner checking out the shelves because we came for 2 sets specifically. Well, I went for 2 sets. She tagged along. This is the LEGO Star Wars 75354 Coruscant Guard Gunship, released this year in September for $270 NZD. The retailer sells this currently at $243 in NZD, which is already a nice enough saving. 20% off of that price though drops this down to $194.40. And get this, loyalty members had a deal where I think if you spent more than $70, you got $7 off. Now, $7 seems like nothing, in theory, until I realized that actually dropped the set down to $186, which now made an $84 saving right off the bat, second day on shelves. For any Americans watching, instead of paying $140, I paid $110. Currently at the time of this recording, the set sold out immediately on LEGO Shop at Home, and for the full price of $270 mind you. I'm guessing all those people are kicking themselves once they find out that they could have paid $180 odd instead. Apparently it is still in stock in some other stores around my country though, so that's something at least. Seems like a hot item. The ATTE went through the exact same scenario. I moved pretty quick and now here we are. The set overview here is a long-awaited return of a LEGO Star Wars playset scaled gunship. The last time we saw the gunship in LEGO form was the UCS one that released a few years or so back, a set that most people seem to really love and an equal number of people also seem to hate. Before that though, the 2013 goated wave of LEGO Star Wars sets based on Attack of the Clones was the last time that we had some absolute gems, including a really good looking gunship. I genuinely don't know if LEGO Star Wars has ever done better than this year, which actually makes me miserable because I stopped buying LEGO Star Wars this very year. I've wanted my own LEGO clone gunship for years, man. There were rumors of this thing happening back when the ATTE was coming out and I was so excited, and then the reveal came and we saw this thing. It's exactly what I wanted in theory, but oh right, the color scheme is wrong. Let's talk about the concept and the idea behind this and the accuracy before we actually get into the review. So this set is actually based directly off of a Clone Wars episode, meaning it's a new canon thing. Crisis at the Heart from Season 6, Episode 7. At the beginning of the episode, Padmé arrives on Scipio with a man named Clovis to help install him as the new leader of the Galactic Banking Clan. What the fuck? Now, this is all well and good, but let's also talk about the accuracy that's going on here. Ignore the fact that it seems like this is the only time that the ship has ever appeared like this. The box art clearly states that this is supposed to be based on Coruscant. It's possible that the idea going for this maybe is that it's them leaving for Scipio, but the inclusion of Fox and Palpatine does raise some concerns because neither actually appear in that scene. The squad leader here is actually Commander Thrawn, and Palpatine just remains back on Coruscant, which means LEGO were okay with making their own creative choice for who gets to be included as a minifigure, and I'm totally fine with that. The figures included are really cool, but that should also mean that LEGO would be okay with any additional character inclusions, which means that there could have been more figures included, and that is where we reach an issue. But look, before we get into all of that, let's actually take a look at this gunship. Viewer beware, this is coming from someone who has never ever built a gunship before. I was very excited to build this, so there might be a little bit of a biasism coming through. No comparisons could possibly be made by me today. I'm just looking at the set for what it is, and I'm comparing it both to the price that I was supposed to pay, according to LEGO, and the price that I actually paid. It feels pretty medium scaled in its size. It's pretty big for my film set here, but feels like it matches that size of the recent Star Wars vehicles where they're just slightly downscaled. I'm aware just from memory alone that the other gunship builds are a lot bigger than this. I guess this is just the scale that we have to deal with from now on. I may disagree on the color scheme here, but I do think it looks really flashy. Once I finally built it, it really worked for me, all coming together at the very end in a, at the very least, unique appearance for a gunship. The front section here uses those antenna cannons that are found on all sorts of clone vehicles in the LEGO Star Wars line, makes it look like an insect. Next to the front section is the first of 5 opening doors. The front ones here slide up and they stop at what feels like the halfway mark. This is tragically how most of the build here feels. These are known to be wider opening doors, but they feel like a custom build here, only partially working. The section at the cockpit here feels like it's what gets in the way and it prevents the door from actually opening, and you can see the method is just Technic parts. Maybe there would have been a way to have them extrude out a little bit more or something. It's just a little tricky to actually interact and put stuff in here. Here's me trying to showcase this by putting a figure on board. It is possible, it's easy to do it if you actually have 2 free hands mind you, but I would have preferred a much bigger door to actually have nicer access. And speaking of doors, let's just get into the controversial door move here. Gunship doors are known to have 2 parts that open up. The door that splits down the middle, and here, instead of having 2 doors, we have one large piece that can easily move to the back of the ship. And I've been scraping the video footage and I really can't tell if it's one door or not based on this design. From some of the shots, I think it really does look like it's one gigantic door. From some other shots though, it definitely looks like it's 2. The canon assumption here is that the Republic would just have one core design of the gunship, universally used, and then they would just paint it whatever so that it could match whatever scene it needed to match in. But the gunship has gone through design changes in the past before, at least it looks that way to me. So I'm not sure. I think it's possible that they would have a gunship model that just had one big door. I can't confidently say whether or not this is a blasphemous and inaccurate design choice, but I also can't imagine why they wouldn't make the split to begin with. It seems like it would be possible to just split this door down the middle, especially once I built it and I saw how it kind of comes together. One key thing that I don't like that I can say though are these clear pieces that are used for the windows. Some of them are attached over 2 studs, that works really well, but some of them just sit on one and they rest on some flat tiles. Hate it. I'm always moving the set around and these things end up moving and it looks aesthetically unpleasing to the eye. If we're going to complain about holes in helmets, then this sort of stuff should also be mentioned, I feel. But I do like how sleek this all is. This gigantic door comes together quite nicely. It feels really good just opening and closing, and it makes for a pretty sturdy grabbing space. The design of those white stripes works really well too, using those triangle pieces there. The doors actually do have some handles sticking out at the back, little levers that you can move so that the doors would respond easier. I'm not sure if this is a common build technique used on gunships before though, but I really like it. You can see that the build is very similar to those smaller doors, same technique by using Technic parts. The door's kind of open. It feels like at least half of that ship is still covered up, which sucks to see, honestly. What we're getting at here is that this is going to be a really good looking display set, but it's going to be really tough around the build and for play. Of course, if we wanted it to be a bigger, better build so that the doors can function how we're wanting them, I probably would have had to pay the full $270, and that would have been the sale price because you know that LEGO would have bumped this up a lot more. It's this reason alone that really helps validate the argument of the 2-door gang. 2 doors would have just felt like we'd have a bit more access in the bay area. You can fit the minifigures provided in the set pretty well, but it's also pretty crammed inside once all of those guys are fit in, and I don't really want to spend my time pressing them in too far towards the back if these sliding doors can barely open. For a troop transport vehicle, there's not a whole lot of room inside. I can't really see myself filling this up with a battle pack or 2, unlike the last AT-AT walkers. Part of that problem actually has to do with the fact that the ground is mostly nice flat tile parts. These flat pieces feel really great for building and for display, but it also means that the minifigures can't interact with these. I have very few studs to work with here for posing my remaining minifigures. Now I assume that the reason for this is that they can stand so far away from the door because otherwise they might get snagged or damage the bricks or something, but removing studs entirely means that I'm not able to have the minifigures maybe standing facing forward with the ship. At the back we have these shelves up top, but there's nothing to fit inside. This is located above the final movable door, the back exit. The door can drop down, and now we do have some more access inside actually. This really shines through once you open up those other doors. There's a lot more room to actually play around with here and display some stuff, but the standing room for minifigures is still mostly just flat ground. There's a sticker here of the Republic logo in the corner. I didn't mention it before, but pro and con, very few stickers, which is really great, only 5 I think total, very easy to apply, but these red ones look like a burgundy brown color that doesn't match the actual red for the ship. I don't know, what do you think? I wish the sticker had just been a print and that it was clear around the decal instead. The cockpit section is nice, but it's nothing really substantial. I feel like a lot of LEGO Star Wars sets go this way lately. 2 seated sections separated from one another, a very small Republic logo, and some switches or monitors for some flying. The wings are really large and they're actually what caused me the most amount of issues today filming. I really like the bulkiness of these things and the colors are primarily red. They use some stud shooters at the ends here. Gunships are usually depicted with cannons, and the LEGO sets have always had these really nice dome parts. Here though it's a brick built stud shooter, but the source material does show a smaller design than what I would be used to with the dome, so I'm indifferent on these being the replacement if I'm completely honest with you. The last part to mention here is the handle. I didn't actually realize until I was a lot older that these sections are handles for hanging a set or something like that. Now it's become one of the parts that I like to check out the most. Handle works really well, it's very sturdy. I wasn't worried that I would drop this even once while I was filming. Here is Padmé Amidala based on her appearance throughout the earlier and middle seasons of the Clone Wars. I don't personally own a Padmé definitive appearance like this, so I really do love this figure. I think she's using that standard Padmé face as usual, and the red vest is pretty cool, though I always personally saw it more as like a purple red than this specific shade of red. In the source material though, she isn't wearing this outfit at all. Her appearance is a lot closer to how she looks in Revenge of the Sith, not middle Clone Wars era, so on the one hand I'm thankful, because now I have a definitive look for a character that I really love. On the other hand though, it doesn't match that source material, and we have already made sure to criticize this. Here's another thing, this is just on mine personally. You can see ever so slightly that I have some minor markings on my figure's torso. Very minor, a little annoying though, but nothing too bad to worry about. That is until of course I turn her around and you can see the back. I think the bricks were rubbing off against her or something clearly, and I'm left with this, which really sucks. This is the one figure that I was the most excited for. But in a close second we have here Chancellor Palpatine, another example of ignoring the source material. Sometimes it actually works pretty well. I do not have a definitive figure of Palpatine in this appearance, and here LEGO have released the best possible version of him. A character that was regularly released in expensive sets, and here, well, he makes no difference. Now sporting that Peter Venkman here and the newer dress piece, I think he is the perfect version. He has a double-sided face of a much more sinister expression for those of you like me who want a perfect Revenge of the Sith edition. And here we move on to some fumbles really. This is Commander Fox, who previously released in a 2008 set in the Separatist Spider Droid. That set's currently worth around 600 NZD, funny, Fox is worth around 228, so a much needed remake. I really like it when clone leaders are made into minifigure to help really make them stand out amongst the other soldiers. His armor here is red with some white additions. The shock troopers that are included in this set have white armor with some red additions. Unfortunately though, the white just looks god awful here. It looks pink and it is not even close to being red. It doesn't come across as good at all. He uses the classic visor that they've been using for years now, and a printed waistcape. I know that some people really hate the printed cloth goods on minifigures. Personally, yeah, I do too actually. I love cloth goods on LEGO, and it's always confused me as to why we have Jedi capes but nothing else. The plastic ones I'm okay with as well, at least they feel tactical and at least it's something. Just a print on legs is a little lame to me. Batman Goon henchman guns, which they've been reusing more and more recently with Star Wars. It's a submachine gun being used in Star Wars, which is neat, but I'll never see it as anything other than a submachine gun for a Batman set. My biggest concern with this guy though is underneath his helmet. He features the standard clone face. This annoys me a lot. Let me explain. Here I have a small little display of some clones across multiple waves of LEGO Star Wars. Most of the figures here are from the newer waves though, because you probably have these guys. Because these are the figures that I think most people have. The one generous thing that LEGO would do for a clone who was supposed to be distinguished from the others was that they would give them a specialized head under the helmet. Rex, Cody, they feature specialized faces, and Fox here has this one. This is the exact same head that is featured under every single clone minifigure. Personally, I really want variety and some distinguishing features for the named leaders of the clones. I'm disappointed to see that the exact same head is used even for some named characters here. The shock troopers here look pretty nice actually. I really do love that red and white color scheme that's been used, and the red looks really good here. They have some nice helmets that people really hate now because of the holes up top. Once you notice it, sure, it can be annoying and a little hard to not notice. Obviously the hole should appear where that little connector part instead is molded into the helmet, but by doing that, I think they have to restructure some stuff all again. Anyway, I guess they just don't want to have to go through that because lazy. You get 2 of them in this set, but that's it. Almost 300 NZD and only 5 minifigures. I really wish LEGO were a bit more open to the public about the cost of including minifigures and what that really does to a set. The idea of producing a set like this with a shock trooper and just duplicating it by 4 plus a couple of named extras seems like a no-brainer to me. Reusing the exact same shock trooper figure ideally 2 more times in the set alone, surely they can make their money back on that. I don't know if it's consumer entitlement talking or not. I genuinely just don't see what the issue is with giving us the exact same selection that was featured, but an additional couple of clone figures. The amount of detail that goes into something like a CMF series, I would imagine, is a lot more expensive than putting the same clone figure in a battle pack or something. My biggest issue here was with the source material. This set depicts a scene that, to my knowledge, doesn't happen. Now, I'm ultimately fine with this though, because I really love that Padmé and Palpatine figure included, but if we're going to do our own thing for figures included, why not go a little bit larger? Give us a couple of Jedi to help sell that Coruscant aspect that's in the name. Maybe a couple of royal guards for protecting the 2 politicians here. Or if the set is politically themed, why not give us some extra politicians? I never thought that I would actually say that, but that new Gunray figure I've got is really old and he's breaking. I need a remake now. Or above all else, give us extra clones please. The battle packs on market right now don't seem to match these guys, so I think we can all expect to see that these shock troopers will be released later on, maybe in an advent calendar or a battle pack later down the line, and that'll help to kind of bulk this thing out a little bit. The box is really big, it barely fits in my display here, shows off a good amount of that Coruscant background, and it has that Clone Wars gold label there as well. The back of the box shows the main features that we've just covered today in this video. The instruction booklet is one of the much larger ones, 200 or so odd pages. There's a nice shot of the set here at the back, but there's also the new wave of Ahsoka sets advertised. They all look really good to me. I would love to get them all, and I do plan to, but ideally on a nice decent enough sale. I've never felt this satisfied on a LEGO set that I have multiple issues with before. I have very patiently waited for a LEGO Gunship to be released for so long now, and when they remade the ATTE, I thought to myself, oh finally it's happening, and then it didn't. For so long it just didn't, and finally it ended up happening, and it's the exact opposite of what I was kind of wanting. Doors that don't split down the middle, an interior that's very small to access, the wrong color scheme, and a very small amount of minifigures. I'm disappointed that this is the route that was chosen, and the $270 price tag completely scared me away. Then, randomly, the set was slashed. For some reason, it was now just under 190 NZD, just slightly over the price of these current Star Wars sets. After building it, I now get to see just how sleek this design is, how well that color scheme actually works for the build. I get to have some excellent named characters that actually do fit outside of Clone Wars. I guess I would say it's a mixed bag overall. For whatever lows the set offers, it does have some nice highs as well. I see a lot of room for improvement, and when they finally make another white, green, and red colored one, I'll be there. For now though, this is a pretty good way to tide me over, especially for less than 200 NZD. If you enjoyed this review of a 2023 LEGO Star Wars set, liking and subscribing does help to support this channel. I greatly appreciate it. Ka kite anō.